So as Shivo said, I'm here today to talk you through a case study. And this case study is about the launch of Lynx Excite, which was our biggest launch of this year. What I'm going to talk about is I'm going to use the 4 I's as my basis to explain that story and take you through it in that structure. But what I really want to share with you today is my learnings and what I got out of doing this campaign, in the hope that some of those might resonate with you, springboard new ideas. One other thing I'll say about this campaign is that it was a really successful campaign. So this campaign has had fantastic results. We're all really happy with it. And I can tell you a lot about what worked and what drove that success. I also think it's just as useful to think about what didn't work. But that would be a whole another presentation. But I'm really happy, if there's time for questions at the end or in the break, to talk about some of those points as well. So to start us off, when Shivo and Zoe asked me to come to talk today, they said, right, at Google, we're really into storytelling. So when you come, just tell your story. So I thought I'd start right at the beginning. Once upon a time, there was a brand called Lynx. And this brand was an amazing brand, a brand that had absolutely incredible heritage. We've been around for 26 years in the UK. At Unilever, it is one of our flagship brands. We're really proud of it. We have what we call Olympic brand status. And that basically means that almost everyone knows about Lynx. It's got mass awareness. But also, loads of people love our brand as well. So that's why we've got Olympic brand status. And, we were talking earlier about, a marketeer's fluffy. Well, yes, those are things that we're really proud of in a more fluffy way. But actually, Lynx is really big business. It's an £150 million brand. So, that brand equity is delivering some strong sales. And we also are the leader in the male toiletries category. So we were like one of the first brands that actually started to talking to men about products for men. So we're really leading the category. And it's a brand that has iconic advertising. When I talk to people, they all have their favourite Lynx ad. I hope some of you have your favourite Lynx ad too. And that's because this brand is a rite of passage brand. I'm going to ask everyone a question, and you have to be honest with me, because people aren't always honest. So of the men, and I'll be interested if there are some girls, who has used Lynx at some point in their life? Yay! Okay, I was really worried that you'd all be like, no. But it's true. I've actually yet to meet a man under 45 who's never used Lynx in his life. So it's an amazing brand. It's a real rite of passage to use this brand. So great. We've got an amazing brand, a brand that we're really proud of. But we've got one small problem, that every single year we have to recruit our entire consumer base again. Because this brand relies on fresh blood. It's all about getting young guys into the category of deodorants and, getting them young between, we start probably at 13 and go to 24. So every year we've got this big challenge, and we have to do something about that every year. So what we rely on is our insight. So I'll start with the insight of Lynx, which is, probably one of the most simple, universal insights that there is in marketing. Guys want to get the girl. That's not going to ever change. And feeling and smelling good actually helps, contrary to what maybe some guys think. You need to smell good, or you don't want to smell bad anyway. That's a definite put-off. But it's essential to success. And what we want to do at Lynx is give you that feeling of smelling good and feeling good, and that really is all about confidence. Because when you've got confidence, you will have what we call the edge in the mating game. And that's something that Lynx is always going to stand for, always has, always will. And it's what we call at Unilever the Lynx effect. So that's our insight and where we start with. But how is this insight going to help me re-recruit my consumer base every single year? Well, what we do is we launch a new variant every year. And we take the Lynx effect and we take a new fragrance proposition and put them together to come up with an insight that's really going to get a whole new generation of guys bought into the brand. I've just put 2 of our most successful ones up there. The first one, I don't know if anyone remembers Lynx Click. It was the one with Ben Affleck in the ad where he had the clicker and lots of girls were looking at him, but the bellboy who'd used Lynx Click actually was getting more looks from the girls. So really successful, a fragrance so strong that you're going to have to keep count of the girls. And the second really successful one in our history was the launch of Lynx Dark Temptation, which was a fragrance so fantastic and smells so good that you smell good enough to eat. So again, 2 really strong fragrance propositions. So that's the insight, and now I'm talking about what kind of ideas that we have to come up with. And this year, we looked at an idea around even saints, even the nicest girls, can sin when they're tempted. And I've got quite an apt photo of Scarlett Johansson, so she obviously can sin with certain photos in her albums, so she really is proving my point at the moment. So even nice girls sin when tempted. So how could we make that into an idea that was going to engage a whole new generation of guys to buy Lynx? So from this insight, we came up with the idea of, this is a fragrance so tempting, even angels will fall. And instead of me trying to explain that, I'm going to show you our film, which is a big blockbuster content from a traditional advertising agency, to show you that.
Excite. Even angels will fall.
So you get the idea, and actually now you're going to get the world premiere of our second ad in this campaign, because we are just about in October to start a second phase of Lynx Excite, and we've created a new ad which is kind of the next part of the story for the angels, which you can see now. You're the first people to see this.
Lynx Excite, even angels will fall.
So I hope you like that. That's just about to go on air, and that's the second phase. So here we are. We had an amazing idea, an idea that I really believed in, I was really passionate about from the beginning. But now we're on to the third eye, which is implementing it. And I really agree with Andy when he said that, you can take a great idea, you can take a rubbish idea, and it's all in the execution. If you can make it in the execution, you can screw it up in the execution. So, this third eye, the implementing of it, it's the really hard part. And it's where we sat down as an all-agency team and looked at our original objective, which is I wanted to get loads of new people into Lynx, and kind of broke down, well, what does that mean? What do I want to do with the guys? How do I want to talk to them? What are my objectives broken down? And we came up with 3 objectives here. What we wanted to do is get guys talking about this whole campaign. Because if they're talking about it, they're engaged in it, they're going to remember it more, it's going to be something that's more part of their lives. Second one was making the film famous. Now, you don't always see that objective in normally when you look in marketing, but we really believed in the film. I mean, we called it the film. We didn't even call it the TVC. We really believed in that asset, and we wanted to make it famous. We wanted to make it one of our iconic pieces of advertising. And then the third one, which is one that you will always see, which is the hardest part, which is getting your guys or getting your consumers involved. And we didn't just want a few guys involved; we wanted a lot of guys involved. So they were the 3 tasks that I wanted to do when we were going to implement this campaign. And what I'm going to focus on for today, because obviously this was a big campaign and we worked a lot of channels, is just focusing on the digital part of it. Because I really believe, and I've heard this with lots of what was being said before, that digital isn't a special type of marketing that should be separated from normal marketing. Especially for our consumers, online, offline are the same. Playing their Xbox and talking to their friends on the phone is the same as going to Nando's and seeing them for lunch. It's the same experience for them. It's part of their lives. So I don't normally separate digital like this. But what I can do and what I want to do today is show how digital can actually give you different opportunities. And again, I really agree with what Andy was saying about, we're really lucky as a generation of marketeers because digital media and digital marketing is giving us so many new opportunities and so many creative ways of doing things that we weren't able to do before. So I wanted to show you how I use those tools and how they helped me with this campaign. So just looking at the first one then, which was getting guys to talk about it. So how I use digital in this way and what I've learned through doing it is that digital offers you a kind of easily accessible community, because the internet is really all about community, and it's about people sharing stuff and being together in this digital space. So there were two ways that we tried to tap into communities to try and get people to talk about our campaign. The first one was tapping into communities that weren't our own communities. They were communities that were already there. And for Lynx, we call them our tribes. So you'll know, there are certain tribes of teenagers who are involved in different things. Ones that I can talk about, guys that are involved in skating, graffiti, goths, gamers, all these types of tribes exist online as a community. And we thought if we could tap into these tribes with this idea, we could get them talking about it at the beginning of the campaign and start to build some cultural relevance with the whole idea of angels falling. So the way that we did that is we created certain pieces of content. I've got 3 examples up there. The first one was we actually approached a graffiti artist called Copyright. He calls himself a street artist. He is very famous online. He's really credible. And he was really happy to work with us. And we basically gave him the brief, showed him the film, and said, do what you want to do. We lowered the branding. I completely released control. It was quite hard. My agencies had to persuade me, but we released it. And he went for it. And one of the pictures is up there. The graffiti he did. He went all around the country to different graffiti parks and created these beautiful angels. And the only branding that was on them was "Even Angels Will Fall." And then, of course, he made a film about his whole process, and that film's fantastic. Again, it says brought to you by Lynx and Copyright, so really low branding, but it's just a great piece of content. The second one was with an artist called Misled. Again, got a really huge online following. She created a beautiful big drawing of an angel that she created. Low branding. Again, she made a film about her experience. And thirdly, there was a skateboard artist in the US, and he creates skateboards by carving into the bottom of them art, and he created loads of different angels designs for us. So it was just a really great way. We got loads of content out of doing this. It was incredibly cheap, and we then seeded that online with no paid advertising and got really good connection with these tribes. And it started to mean that angels were becoming more culturally relevant, and they were kind of involved in what these guys were seeing online before we even started the campaign and started with our push advertising. The second community we engaged was our own community, which was our Facebook page. I know a lot of brands have Facebook pages. We have a really engaged community there. But we had quite a lot of fun with this campaign. Instead of just going straight to them and saying, here's our ad, here's our new fragrance, what do you think? We actually kind of played a little game with them and tapped into things that they thought were funny. So we did this whole thing where we pretended that the angels had actually taken over Lynx headquarters. We put up QR codes that gave them more information about it. We wrote stuff in binary code, which anyone who knows any teenagers is something that's quite cool for teenagers, working out binary code. And we took half photos of the angels as if they were actually taking over Lynx headquarters. And it was all quite funny because the whole time it was happening, we were getting loads of comments going, is your page being hacked? Something weird's going on, guys. You should check this out. And we got so much interaction just from playing that little game and having fun with the guys. And I was a bit nervous to start with because I was like, they might hate it and hate us for doing it, but they loved it and they really got engaged and we had some fun with them. So that was how we started getting guys to talk about it. Making the film famous, there were 2 ways that we made the film famous. The first, what you can do on digital to generate this type of awareness is actually create some more engaging platforms. So there were 2 types of platforms I'm going to show you today. One, I can show you a video of as I talk, which is a homepage takeover. And you can just see YouTube do this a lot, but quite simply by creating a bit more engagement rather than just showing the film, people could roll their mouse over, play with the angel, make the angel fall. And this was a really successful way of just getting the film out there and getting people to click on the film after they'd watched the banners. Cool, that's come to an end. And the second really engaging way that we were able to kind of syndicate our content and share the film with people was using mobile media. And at the moment, there's so much going on in mobile. There's so many platforms that you can use and interact with. And we actually did a really good piece of work with AdMob at Google. And instead of talking about it, I'm going to let you watch the video, and it will explain all about it and tell you how great it was.
The idea for our Axe Excite campaign was simple but powerful. It was that the fragrance made even angels fall from the sky. And we ran it in the first quarter of 2011 this year. And the idea is that we wanted to create a film that would not only work for television, but could flex across all the different powerful storytelling formats, such as cinema, but also, most importantly, for mobile.
We wanted to test the AdMob platform because we really wanted to see if AdMob could give us a bigger level of reach, look at the efficiency cost, and just determine whether there was a bigger engagement level with Android phones.
One of the major benefits of the AdMob platform is that we can target the iOS platform as well as the Android platform, so it gave us a depth that we couldn't find anywhere else. When our users clicked on the ad, they would be taken to an expanded ad experience where they'd see a halo, which acted as a carousel. And that carousel allowed our users to see our television ad. They could see behind-the-scenes footage, which they couldn't see anywhere else. And they could also have a great interactivity experience with all the tips and tools and tricks that we put in the site.
We're delighted with the reach that we achieved with the AdMob platform. 149 million impressions served, over 690,000 unique visitors to the content, and we saw a really great eCPM.
We found that users were spending over 2 minutes actively engaging with our brand storytelling. Not only have we not seen this in any other mobile advertising, we haven't seen this in any other advertising in any channel.
We reached 85% of iPhones, and I think what was a great learning for us was the level of engagement consumers were willing to give.
We've been really pleased with the AdMob platform, and for anyone that wants to reach a consumer in the mobile environment, we absolutely think this is a fantastic way to do it. Not only in terms of engagement rates, but in terms of the efficiency.
So as Rachel said, what's really surprising when you do these things and you create these platforms is how willing consumers are to engage with them. And that brings me on to my final objective in what we were trying to do with implementation, and that was the holy grail of getting guys to actually participate with your campaign and really be involved. I'm just going to show 3 examples of how we actually achieved that with this campaign. Starting with the one on the end, we know that Lynx guys love gaming. Gaming's a big part of their lives. We know that they love to interact with content in games, and we do in-game advertising a lot. But what we did differently this time is we gave them the opportunity to get extra content. So instead of just having the in-game advertising, we put QR codes in that advertising, which they could put their mobile phone up to the screen and get bonus content out of. So it's just a small way of giving them a way to actually participate with our content and get more involved. Second example is the middle one, which was kind of a bigger scale version, where we created a game. And games are obviously quite interactive, people play with them. And the premise of this game was Kelly Brook is an angel in heaven who you need to make fall. And you've got to play this whole game and try and make her fall from heaven. But what's really, makes this game so great and so people so willing to participate is that it's a personalised game. So only you can make Kelly Brook fall from heaven. And how we achieve that in the game is that we personalise the content. So as you were playing, Kelly Brook would be taking out a photo in heaven of you from her drawer. So we used technology to pull that in from your Facebook page. And you'll see a picture there, Kelly Brook lying stroking a photo of you. The second bit that we made it really personalised was when Kelly did actually fall from heaven, when you completed the game, she'd actually fall to your house. So we used Google Maps technology. So when Kelly fell, you'd already put your postcode in earlier in the game, she'd fall to your house. So again, a really good way of getting people to interact and participate just by some simple personalisation using the digital tools that are available. And then the final one I'll talk about is an augmented reality part of the activity that we did. And this was obviously offline because it was in real life. We did it in Victoria Station and in Birmingham. We actually brought the angels to those stations. They fell. People could interact with them using the augmented reality. Really fantastic interaction for people there on the day, and also a really great piece of content because we obviously filmed it all, and that content was really successful and kind of went viral, and that campaign did really well for us. So just a couple of ways that we got people to actually participate. So what I said that I wanted to share with you my learning, so I'm just going to pull out the key things that I learned from this and quickly go over them. So the first one is about paid, owned and earned. So everyone hears the content is king. I used to hear it from my agencies all the time and think it was just a way that they wanted to get more production fees out of me. But actually I know what they're doing now. It's about not the cost of the content, it's not how much money you put into it, it's not doing always the big blockbuster film, it's about the range of content. So everything we do now, we create a behind-the-scenes footage, just as a given. That's an extra piece of content for every single thing we do. And then, there's things like the blockbuster TVC I showed you, and things like the graffiti artist video as well. All these pieces of content we're adding to our campaign and adding to our owned content. The second thing I really learned was about how digital can give you access to a community, but how you have to really think about what you're going to talk to that community about and how you can make it really relevant to them. The third thing was about the scope and the opportunity for creativity that digital media gives us. TV, there are lots of things you can do with television, but when you look at online, there's so much more you can do. There's stuff that none of us can even think about in this room. And, I'm now, after this experience, every single time thinking about paid for digital media, I'm going to push my agencies and say, well, how can we do something that no one else has ever done before when we're paying for this media? And then the final one is about the content and the engagement piece. Often people think about, right, want to create engagement, want to create some great content that we can give to people. But I think it's about thinking, what's going to be the motivation that's going to get them to actually want to participate? Because it takes quite a lot of effort for a consumer to actually want to participate with your, even if it is an amazing piece of content. So it's just keeping asking that question, what are you giving them that's going to make it worth their while to do that, go that extra step? And they're those key things I learned. So how did this work for us? It impacts the final eye. And as a brand marketer and as a client, I'm obsessed by sales. So I'm going to start with the sales as my key measures of my impact. I said that I wanted to re-recruit an entire consumer base. And we did. We recruited 500,000 brand new shoppers that had never bought Lynx, never bought into the category, into deodorants and into Lynx. It's now our second best-selling variant behind Lynx, which is really great because normally our new variants are number 3. So we got it to number 2. And we sold 6 million cans, so really, really successful launch for us. And then the kind of softer measures against those objectives that I had were also really great. So the Get Guys Talking, we had something like 40,000 views just of those pieces of content I talked about with no paid media. We got 25,000 plus interactions just with the stuff on Facebook through the QR codes, the binary codes and the hacking. With making the film famous, you saw how great AdMob was for us and how successful that was. In terms of things like the YouTube homepage takeover, we had 11 million impressions of that. We had a 12% interaction rate. So again, really good channels and good platforms to get more engagement with our assets. And then getting the guys involved, also really successful. I talked about the viral film we made out of the augmented reality, had 1 million views so far, which is fantastic. And I love that map, because it's basically a map of where it's been seen, and anywhere that's a bit green is where lots of people have viewed it. So that's a true viral. I'm quite proud of that little map. And then the game, the Fallen Angel game, 100,000 people played that game, and 34% came back and played it again, which is great, because they're just engaging over and over again. And the game is actually something like 9 minutes long, so they're engaging with us for quite a long time. But the final part, and I suppose, any marketeer, a true measure of how successful your brand is does it actually become part of your consumers' lives? Does it become part of culture? And I think with this campaign, in some instances, it happened. And the picture up there is actually a brand manager's absolute dream. You've got a guy at his uni freshers' ball wearing a can with angels. Like, how cool is that? So I'm really proud of that one. I love that. And then the other thing that really shows how we've become part of culture is what I'm going to leave you with today, which is a parody that Jimmy Carr did of our ad for the Channel 4 Comedy Gala. And that's the final thing I'll share with you.
Whoops.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Selina, for sharing what was a really enlightening story. I just want to ask you, because we don't have much of your time while you're here. So, I mean, you basically have responsibility for the dating success of most of the male population in the UK, yes?
Yeah, pretty hard job, yeah.
So quite a burden, I should imagine.
Yeah, massive.
So if I may, I just want to ask your help. You see, I've got my can.
Okay.
And seriously, I spray it every day.
Okay.
But nothing really happens. And honestly, I think your ads are misleading people. And I'm just wondering, am I doing something wrong?
No, Shivo, our ads never mislead. Our ads always tell the truth. I think you're actually spraying it wrong.
Right.
You're supposed to do the whole...
Okay.
There you go.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, this is quite unexpected. Let me just see if I can say hello. Yes. not quite working for me, but I won't tell my wife about this. But, well, thank you so much.
No problem.
That's just quite
That's what
amazing.
Lynx does for you.
So, guys, I have to say, buy this stuff. Seriously, this is way more powerful than I ever thought. Thank you,
brilliant.
Selina. Excellent. So, thank you once again for Selina. Round of applause.